question, please type them in the chat box, and we will dedicate a few minutes of the webinar at the end to answer your questions. And we will be sharing various resources and conducting many activities using QR codes to make it easier to access. So kindly check that your camera settings before we start. If you face any difficulties scanning the QR codes, kindly type it in the chat box and we will help you as soon as possible. Lastly, please keep your mics mute and cameras off throughout the session to avoid any distraction. Do you have any questions before we start?
No, as such, but I have, since I'm talking at the very first in the panel. So do I get the rights to share my screen?
No, I'm still introducing, and now, yes, of course, I will introduce you now.
Okay, no problem. I'm just making it sure that I get the...
Yes, you can share your screen now, of course.
Let me check, so that we don't have any problem when we are actually getting into the...
Yes, of course, you can share your screen now.
You see it?
Okay, so guys, let me introduce our first guest, Ms. Iram Zichan. She's the founder of EZ Minds, Mind Science Trainer, certified life coach, NLP, and CBT practitioner. Yes, tonight she will be discussing the importance of students' well-being during assessments. Ms. Iram will take it from here, and please welcome her.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, Ramadan Mubarak to all of you, and thank you very much Technogen for inviting me for this beautiful webinar today. And we all of us will try to share limited knowledge that we have according to our perspective. Since I'm a life coach, I'm a success trainer. I work for the kids development. I make different training programs, soft skill training programs for kids of all ages from 6 till 18. So that I have a very strong passion for students, for the age, which is actually the most important of any human, the age from since after, just after your birth till 18, 20, when you're actually forming your whole personality. So that's the most crucial time. And I'm an NLP. NLP stands for, just for the people who don't know, NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming, and CBT is Cognitive Behavior Therapy. So I just try to use, along with the coaching, I try to use these therapies for wherever it's needed. Apart from that, I'm a founder of Easy Minds, and Easy Minds is basically a mental health awareness forum on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, just to make people know that why and how mental health is important. And basically, that's the point. I've been given this important topic today, which is about the well-being, the mental health of the students during assessment. So that's my part that I'm going to cover. So let me just go through with the slides. These are a couple of the slides, my training sessions online and on site. So let's start with the well-being without wasting any limited time, because all of us have a limited window to talk about. So what is well-being? Haya, can I ask the question in between, if any one of you could write down on the chat box, if you want to unmute yourself, just to know what we understand what is well-being. What comes to your mind when you talk about the word well-being? If you don't want to write on the chat, that's totally fine. People can write, Haya, or no?
Yes, no one wrote anything right now.
Okay, fine. Okay, stay calm. Okay, so Dana said stay calm. Yeah, that could be. Okay, guys, okay, this name said how the learners feel comfortable and have voice, choice, and ownership. Very nice. See, Walaikum assalam. Iman said assalamu alaikum. So basically, I just wanted you guys to give me a different perspective, because being the teachers and the trainers, and from each of us, we having from a different background and having a different kind of perspective about the one same thing. So let's see what is all about we need to talk today. So, well-being, basically, well-being is about, it's a very broader perspective, by the way. We usually think that well-being is about the health only, or maybe the mental health only. No, it covers everything. It is actually experience. And when you talk about experience, it means it's cognition. It means it's related to your thoughts. So it means it is internal and external at the same time. So it's about your health, your happiness, your prosperity. It includes your mental as well as your physical health. It contains your life satisfaction. And the very most important thing that I usually talk about, having a purpose of life, having a meaningful life. So everything is connected when we talk about well-being. And last but not the least, well-being means the ability to manage stress. And this could be the most important aspect in our life, especially after COVID regime. We can easily see that stress is a part of human life. So there is no COVID added a lot of stress. You must be agreeing to my point that for the students, for teachers, for parents across the board, across the globe, we are more stressed after this pandemic has occurred. So why well-being is important and why I'm talking about this, that apart from COVID, the stress factor is always and will always be there with us as a human being, because we have been designed by the Almighty Allah in a way that there is a whole system in our body that is there to produce stress hormone, which is called cortisol. I'm just giving you a 2 or 3 minutes background about the stress, because this is the most important aspect, since I'm in this industry where I need to deal with a lot of people, a lot of students, adults, dealing with stress, anxiety, negative thinking, and depression. So I just want to tell you that cortisol, the major hormone that produces stress, is not being designed in vain. I mean, there's a reason that's why it's there. So I will going to explain you in a coming up slide how and what way we can decrease the impact of stress in our lives as a students, as a teachers, or as parents. So basically, let me explain you a little bit more about well-being, because this is the basics of our existence. So it's basically, there are the 4 pillars of well-being. You can say it's a health and physical health, your physical well-being, how active, how good, how nutrient you feel, your eating, your sleep, your water intake, your exercise, everything counts. We talk about physical and health well-being. Secondly, the most neglected and underrated aspect of well-being, which is emotional well-being. And when you're talking about the students specifically today, it's more of, when you talk about the exams, it's more of the emotional side of well-being that is actually getting impacted when we talk about exams. So the stress, the negative thinking, or the anxiety that comes along, it's actually related to the emotions. And since we cannot see emotions, we are not that much concerned as a teachers, maybe sometime, or as a parents, to see that our kids are undergoing a major or minor kind of stress. So emotions, that's a very important point, that emotions are not visible. We cannot show someone that this much I'm happy, or this much I'm sad, or this much I'm fearful, or this much I'm depressed. So this is very important that we take into account the major part of emotional well-being as the major indicator of our students' well-being. So if they are feeling good, if they're experiencing things good, if they're interacting in a good way, that means they are having a good level of well-being. Third number, very important, social connectedness. Social connectedness, and again, I will refer to this COVID issue. You have been noticed, and teachers and the parents for sure will be agreeing to the fact that this COVID has actually making the whole web apart in a way that students are more into the machines, they are more towards the screens, they are less connected. And see, for example, let me give you an example. I'm talking to the machine and there's one person, Umida, she is there. I can see her face. So it gives me a kind of connection that says some human, the human is there, I'm talking to her. So if many of you or a few of you can come on camera, it gives the speaker, I'm just giving an example, it gives the speaker the sense of connectedness. So we don't feel that we're talking to the machine, because we human beings have been designed in a way that we need that social connection. We need that connectedness. We need that empathy. We need that social interaction. We are those social beings who cannot survive without being into the interaction. So that is important part. When you are getting along with the machines a lot of the time, that means you are compromising your well-being in one way or other. This is the number 3 important aspect of well-being. And all of us as a student, as a teacher, as a parent, because I'm addressing 3 major segments of the society right now. These areas must be fulfilled in a very appropriate way for any student who is actually thriving and giving their best effort for the exams, for their assessments, for their studies. In fact, this is in general, it's for everyone. But since we are talking about the students, so I'm just making it short and focused towards the students. Fourth, last but not the least, the topic I've told you, that the meaningfulness, giving back to the community, having the strong bond and spiritual connection with a higher power. You will agree or not, since I'm a Muslim, but it's in all of the religions, that the bond between you and your creator will actually give you a sense of purpose and meaning in your life. That bond will create a sense of well-being in your mind, that there is someone, whatever happens, there is someone who is actually there to help me, and who is actually there to care about me, and I can talk, I can share, and I can have all kind of experiences sharing with that entity. So that's very important. And the science has proved that, the psychology has proved that the people who believe in God or believe in any form of God, they are much more better in terms of their mental well-being as compared to those who don't. So forward, and again, a very important point that I have actually highlighted in the start of the workshop, emotional well-being. So remember one thing, teachers and the trainers and parents, emotions are normal. So when I'm saying emotions are normal, that means stress is normal too. So stress is not always bad. This might be surprising for you. Stress is not always bad. So as I've said, the stress cortisol hormone is actually there to help us, to motivate us, to actually make us getting ready and getting that alarm. Okay, you have to get up and do something. Go get yourself active and prepare for your exams. So that normal kind of stress, or the thinking that, okay, I'm going to get prepared for the exam, is okay. The problem is with the emotions, any emotion. Leave apart this stress thing, happiness or sadness or separation or anything. If it's prolonged and if we experience the intensity to make it too high to the normal level, and it's not even if it's suppressed and not expressed, if we do not train our students or kids to express their emotions in a appropriate way, then it might become a problem for all of us. So remember, emotions are not bad, including anger. But the problem is the expression of that emotion. The problem is how to deal with that emotion in a healthy manner, that it actually do not going to hurt us as a human body. We do not get affected. So that's the most important point. And that is the thing that we need to make. First of all, we need to learn it first, and then we can make it easier for the students to understand that emotions are okay to be experienced. Okay, guys. There's Azan, Isha Azan here, so there might be some voice in the background. Okay. Meanwhile, just going through the meanwhile the Azan time, you can go through with this slide, and I'll start after a minute. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay, guys. So let's start with the coping measures. Okay. So resilience. I have just actually added this point, few points of resilience building for students, for all of us to understand that this is the one soft skill, or you can say the life skill that can save us, all of us, as a student, as a teacher, to deal with any kind of problem or stress related thing, any negative event, any challenge or adversity in our life. So remember one thing, we are not preparing the kids for exams only. That is the major problem of our school system these days, that we are just preparing the students for the sake of academics, just getting grades, just getting the numbers, and that's all. Alas, no. We need to give them some life skills, that those life skills are going to help them in the practical life when they get graduated, when they actually getting into the market and taking out the jobs or getting into the practical life, and they're going to get new relationship in their lives or new different kind of professional experiences in their lives. This resilience building is actually going to help them for their exams preparations, for their current education and academics preparations, and for their lifelong journey. So remember that this is very important topic. I always like to emphasize upon that. Please do not prepare your students for the sake of grades and grades and grades. Unfortunately, it's a very bitter reality that we focus so much on academics and we forget that the real exam is the life exam, the exam that we are going to face after passing out of the university or college sometimes. Okay, guys. So since resilience, what is resilience? Resilience is an ability to cope and thrive in the face of negative events, challenges, or adversity. So this resilience can help you in any pandemic, any war-like situation, any problem, any bully, any household issue where you're not having a good time. So what could be done? How much time, Haya, do I have? Just let me know so that I have to wrap it up accordingly. Positive social connections. So I've already talked about this, that the social connections are pretty much important, are actually highly critical for all of us to have that resilience in our lives. Learning to cope with the manageable threats. This is another important area. You need to learn sometimes a little bit stress, as I've told you, a little bit vulnerability, a little bit small kind of dose of threat is okay to be given, just to make them ready to feel and fight with resilience. But again, we are not actually doing that practical. We are actually, as a teacher, as a parent, taking out that stick in our hand and continuously feeding the students. The exam is there, assessment is there, get ready, be prepared, you are going to do this, you're going to be failed, you're going to be this. So instead of threatening them in a continuous negative way, give them a small, very comfortable and manageable threats. Why I wrote this? Because sometimes we need to push them up. Okay, get up, do prepare. But that has to be in a certain level, which is very much important. Otherwise, you are going to make a negative impact in their lives, in their emotional life, and they are taking exams as a monster, as a situation where they need to escape. That's very important. Coping and problem solving skills, the thing is, again, we need to make them learn the life skills, conflict handling, how to handle a bully, how to handle a difficult situation, how to communicate when you're not feeling okay, how to cope with any problem without getting aggressive. And teachers would be the best people who can actually teach them by being a good role model. I'm going to discuss that in the coming up slide. Positive self-regard. I'm a coach and I can tell you, I can bet on this. 90% of the students who are coming to me, they are having a low self-esteem issues. They are having that problems. Root cause could be any, but positive self-regard or a high self-esteem is such an important ingredient in your personality that will make you a resilient person. So when you accept yourself, when you like yourself, when you appreciate yourself, when you do not get into the self-doubt, that means you are preparing your child, your student as a resilient student. Last, a sense of purpose and responsibility, make them responsible. Try to give them that kind of responsibility so that they can take it, and nobody is there, even if nobody is there to make them getting into the situation, oh, exam are there, they are ready because they are responsible. So this is something that we can teach from the early years, because if we don't, at the grade of 8, 9 or 10, it's usually doesn't work. It doesn't work because they are not getting into the habit of having the sense of responsibility. So when the pressure is too much, they usually collapse. So give them a purpose, give them a meaningful life, give them a motive, tell them that you are not here just to prepare for the exam. The goal is too big. This is just a small little goal to reach to the bigger goal, which is becoming a strong, cooperative, humble, kind human being. And in this regard, teacher-student relationship is very, very important. Believe me, I can talk about this slide for the rest 1 hour. Yes. Okay. So I can talk about this slide for the rest 1 hour. Such an important thing. Teacher can play a tremendous role. Teacher is a leader. Teacher is actually the person who can inspire. Even being a mother, I can tell you, mothers have a very strong influence. But after a certain age, they don't have that much influence or impact on their kids due to so many psychological and social issues. But teachers still have that impact. So you are very powerful, very, very powerful job. And I hands off, I mean, I truly appreciate, and I know that teachers after profit up, I mean, that's the reason in our religion, this profession has been given us utmost importance, because this relationship can build the whole generation. So what teacher can do to support their students' well-being during or after exams? Number one, model copying behavior for students. If I am calm, if I'm a quiet, if I'm a caring person, if I'm a non-reactive person, that means I am modeling that behavior for my students. But if I am panicking, if I am throwing different kind of facial expression and I'm not building that rapport with my students, and I'm not having that connection that they can discuss and they can talk about their fears, that actually going to hinder the relationship bond between students and teachers. And remember, I can again, this topic is such an important topic, that if you have a good bond and relationship with your students, and if you are actually at that level that you can inspire your student, you have a lot more power to inspire, to influence, to motivate, and to get all kind of good results out of your students. So happy teachers, happy students. That's very important. If you are happy, if you are giving out the good vibes in the class, if you are taking the exams in a very positive way, in a happening way, students are going to get that. But if not, it would be again a vice versa situation. So remember, it's very important. Get study group. Teachers can, there are so many strategies, and I'm sure the coming up panelists, they are going to share a lot more information, inshallah. But study groups will work for students. They actually get them work. They actually get them have that strong connectedness, and they learn better, because researchers have proved that students who study together are having a far better results than those who don't. But again, it depends from person to person, but it's a general research. A good teacher is a good counselor too. So remember that. Good, because I believe, I'm a counselor too, but I believe that every teacher has that a small part of their personality as a counselor. So when he or she talks in appropriate way, it actually make a rapport between the teacher and the student, and the student is going to listen, imitate, and copy his or her teacher in short run and long run as well. So empower your students. That's your responsibility. That's our responsibility. Empower students with simple strategies to reduce stress. Okay, guys, I'm just trying to wrap it up because I believe I don't have much time. I didn't get any message, but I believe so. So I do this. I make few training programs on different kind of meditation, stress reducing strategies that can involve breathing. There is a diaphragmatic breathing. There are different kind of breathing. You can teach your students to relax themselves through these exercises, yoga, meditation. Get them involved. Get them have physical activities. It will actually help them during and before the exam to get into a flow and to reduce anxiety. Help students create a study schedule. It's very important. Have them, make them time conscious. Make them the people who actually value time. So the students who value time, they have a schedule. So they don't get burdened because they know that the exams are coming by in few weeks. So they're getting prepared before time. So the anxiety level will be much more lesser if we prepare well before time, and it will much more if we are not actually ready before time. Taking notes, it's very important for teachers, for parents. I'm sure that to ask students to take notes, whether they like it or not, because you have noticed, I have noticed students are sitting before the camera and they were watching the camera and they're actually into a different world. They are not present. So when you ask them to write, when you ask them to take notes, it actually engages their brain, is actually make them more focused and work smart. Then the other people can tell me exactly, I will not go into the details, but you can tell them the test taking strategies, focused. They don't review their test. They do not get prepared for the test. They do not feel okay before the exam. So they are under stress. That stress actually triggered their performance. This is another part that you can always focus on. There's a lot of research that when you write something, see, I'm a mind sciences person, so I always take things from psychological point of view. So remember, when you take down some things, your brain gets a message that this is important. Whenever you are writing, for example, I'm giving this speech or this lecture, and if you are noting down the points, the chances are that the learning capacity will be much higher as compared to the fact if you're not writing it. So this is an important point. Making a planner, a printable planner, telling them that do the important tasks first. This is very important. I have a whole workshop on 7 habits of highly effective teens, where we actually tell them always put big rocks first. That means block time out for the important activities, for the time-taking activities first, and then do the rest of the thing. So instead of playing games or doing something which is not very effective, do the important task, the difficult task, that eating frog kind of task, and then do the rest of the things which are not very much important. So this is another very important strategy that teachers or the parents can tell their students to always see. You can see the bottle where you actually put the big rock first, it still have a gap space. But the ones where we did not, you are actually leaving behind the important task and wasting your time for the tasks who are not very much effective and time efficient. This is my last slide. Apart from this, as a well-being trainer, I would highly emphasize that before exams, ask them to have a good sleep. A good sleep is very, very important to help them to reach to their maximum potential. Eat healthy. This is a continuous reminder. This should be the continuous reminder from the teacher's side, that please eat healthy. Do not get into the junk so much, because we all know that junk actually hinder the performance of the brain. Take a lot of water, not the soda, but water. That's very important thing. And most of the parents would agree to the fact that it's very difficult for us to stop our kids from too much of junk and soda. So that's very important point. Then you can include the sources of protein, complex carbohydrates, healthy fats into your meals. So get them into conscious eating, get them into nutritious snacks, which actually help them grow better and think better and perform better. So stay connected to the things that nourish you. That means your family, your friends, physical activities, your hobbies, arts and crafts, anything that you like to do. Stay connected to that hobby off and on, before and during the exam too, for a little time according to your schedule. And last but not the least, sleep. Have enough sleep, have good rest, and get ready for the exam. I'm sure if you plan up things, if you feel good, if you make sure that the students have those important life skills which actually help them improve their mental and emotional and physical well-being, they're going to perform much more better during their exams, and it will definitely improve their life, their performance during exams, and their personality, their human nurturing would be much more better. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Iram. Guys, do you have any questions for Ms. Iram before we move on? If you have any question, please write it down in the chat box.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we didn't receive any questions from the audience. Thank you so much, Ms. Iram, for an insightful session and these helpful skills and guidelines. And now, Ms. Shawkaya Hawara will discuss how to create assessments or individual students' abilities. Could you please?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Hi. How are you? Glad to see you.
Hi, Ms. Shawkaya.
Alhamdulillah. Hi. How are you? Yes.
Okay, guys, Ms. Shawkaya is the president of Arab English Translators Association with MA in English Teaching Methods, one of the founders and trainers of the Microsoft Palestine team, and the founder of We Are the Initiatives Towards the Peak team. Thank you, Ms. Shawkaya, for joining us today, and you can take it from here.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me for this webinar. Good evening another time. I am Shawkaya Hawara from Palestine, and I'd like to join this webinar and to talk about students' assessment and different abilities and mixed abilities learning. Now, what are the subjects of this webinar? The first of all, I will define assessment. Then we will recognize what the assessment types are. Then we will come to some examples on assessment tools, which are very important in order to suit our students and different abilities. And lastly, we will ask you to suggest some recommendation. As my colleague said, I am Shawqiya and I have MA in English teaching methods, and I am a ministry teacher trainer, a Microsoft innovative expert, and I have a lot of achievements, thank God, during COVID-19, especially because as it was first of all as a disaster, but we changed it into a blessing. Are some of my achievements, but well begin. Now, as you know, as teachers of English, we have or we are facing many challenges every day, especially for us as Arab English teachers, because Arabic is our native language and we teach English for our students who are facing many difficulties in learning this language. And also the teacher has to face every day about 25 to 30 students at a time, and sometimes more. Some classes have sometimes 40, 45 students. And those students, as you know, have different levels of abilities, motivation for working with their English. And also some or many of them have a special interests and experiences. And this make us take them into consideration. And also the teacher meets these mixed abilities classes each day, and he has or she has to face them and to work and to think effectively how to deal with them. But what is a mixed ability class? We mentioned this thing. As you know, the mixed ability classes means that those classes where there are many students who have different and several abilities, interest, motivations, education background, ages, styles of learning, etc., and experiences, as many define it. If we have a look at this picture, what does this photo suggest to you? I will let you 1 minute to look at this photo, and please try to say, what does this photo suggest to you? Here it says everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. What do you think? Do you agree, disagree? Why? Why yes, why no? Please raise your hands, or you can raise your hand, or you can write in the chat box. Yes.
Ms. Shawqiya, sorry to interrupt, but would you please start the slideshow, because the screen is fixed on the first one.
Really? Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. I will stop share, then I will share it another time. I will close my camera because maybe because of the internet access, because it is weak here. Yes. Sorry. I will share it another time. Now, is it visible?
Not
yes,
yet,
Ms.
not.
Haya. Ms. Haya,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Ms.
it's
Haya?
visible now.
Yes, it is visible. Thank you.
Yes. You're welcome.
Yes, yes. We will talk, as I said, about mixed ability classes. And we said that there is a photo. It says that everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. What do you like? Do you agree, disagree, why, or why not? Please, you can share either in the chat box or you can raise your hand and answer. Yes, anybody can comment on this photo? Yes, agree. Yes, some say agree. Yes, Ms. Rania Hanania says motivation of mind is a clue of success. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Hiba says yes, completely agree. Yes, many say that they agree with this saying. Thank you very much. Yes, so as you know, everyone has different interests, abilities, preferences, etc. Thank you. Now, let's come to our core definition of assessment. What do you mean by assessment? Here you can make a QR, or you can take the link here, please. I will send it in the chat box. Please open it and we will comment by using the Mentimeter. Please just click on the link that I sent, or you can take the QR here by your mobile. Yes, then you can comment what do you mean by assessment. And there is, I sent a link in the chat here. You can just click on it. Then you can comment what do you mean by assessment. Or you can take here the QR by your mobile. Yes, some say that it is evaluating. Just just click on the link, please. On the link and try to use the Mentimeter. Write your answer there, please. I will show it to you. Yes. Yes, there are some answers. Feedback, maybe. Progress. It is testing. Yes, if you cannot use the link, yes, some write in the chat box. It is for or to give feedback to the learners. Yes, thank you. It is testing. Yes. It is not just evaluating, but reinsurance of learning progress. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's see what do you mean by assessment. Now, look here, those are some words that come to our mind when we mention the word assessment. Maybe it is challenge, certification, weighting, a judgment, quantifiers, decisions, reliability, grades, learning, equity, etc. Now, if we have a look at this definition by some ones who is an expert in teaching and in assessment, he says that assessment is recognized as a powerful influence on learning in general and on students' use of technologies in higher education. As you know, when we want to assess our student, we use many technologies in order to see if they are developed or not in education, if their proficiency, for example, is raised or not. And it is also ongoing process, systematic collection of information. And it is also a process by which information is obtained related to predetermined objective or goals. As you know, as an educator, you should always begin by planning, because planning is the first step in any successful work. If you don't plan your class, you will, or there will be a failure. And it is also a process of collecting evidence to make informed decisions. How can we assess the students? By sometimes making some evidences in order to see where are the points of weakness, the points of strengths, in order to put a plan, to put procedures. How can we assess our students? And there are many other definitions. Now, there is a great saying by Brown and Paul Pindarelli in 1997. They say, if you want to change student learning, then change the method of assessment. So you should, as an educator, as a distinguished educator, you shouldn't stick to the same method of assessment, but you should vary, and you should use many different methods of assessment in order to suit the mixed or the multi-level students in your classrooms in order to be successful. But if someone asks, but why do we use assessment? What are the reasons that we should use assessment in our classrooms and for our pupils? The first reason is for enhancing students' engagement. If you don't engage your students in the educational process, and as you know, the student is the core and is the main or the core of the educational process, in order to motivate him or her towards learning. And the second reason is for providing opportunities and chances for educators, parents, and administrators to gather evidence about the achievements of the learners in relation to syllabus outcomes. As you know, we have a syllabus and we have some objectives of these curriculum in order to fulfill and to achieve them. And so assessment is a great opportunity to have this thing. Also, for enabling students to demonstrate what they know, comprehend, apply, analyze, and evaluate. So those are some of the reasons for using assessment. And the mixed ability classes, as we said, they have different abilities, motivation. As you know, our students vary in their motivation. Some are motivated, are highly motivated. Some lose their motivation, and they are sometimes low achievers. They don't like, for example, learning or the English language, for example, as us for Arab English teachers, because it is a foreigner language, so they are facing many difficulties in learning this language. And also they vary in their needs, in their interests, in their educational background, in their styles of learning, as we will discuss later, in their experiences, and so on. So now let's come to another point, which is very important. Why is it is important when working with mixed? What is important when working with mixed ability classes? Yani, what are the things that we should put into consideration when we deal with mixed ability classes? You should always put in your mind and should be careful about creating a good atmosphere. As I said, because they, for example, they are low achiever, they have lack of motivation. So you should, as a distinguished and a good teacher, you should create a funny atmosphere in order to break the routines. For example, by applying global applications as a Kahoot, as Nearpod, the quizzes, as my colleague said, for example, which I depend on them. I use them greatly during either face-to-face classes or the virtual classes. Number two, developing the students' responsibility for learning. How can I develop it? By motivating them, by urging them always, and also by giving clear instructions and by differentiation. As I said, there are different levels of students, so you should put in mind these things. So what is differentiation? It is a big point, and it is very important key word. You should pay attention to it as an educator. It means adapting learning in response to our learners' differing abilities and preferences. But how can we apply, or how can we care about this thing? Number one, by adapting the learning content or task to meet them objective. It means we should pay attention to differentiation in order to fulfill our target or our objectives that we put and we work in order to fulfill them. And also by adapting the process of teaching in order to suit our students' levels, ages, preferences, abilities, multiple intelligences, etc. Also by differentiating the learning outcome. So you should put them into consideration. But what if I ask you, what are the types of learners? As you know, there are many types of learners. Please write in the chat box, what types of learners can you remember? Types of learners, write in the chat box, please. Yes, the first one, visual. Excellent. Thank you, Miss Delia. Vec, auditory. Thank you. Thank you. Audio or visual. Thanks. This kinesthetic. Yes. Good. Or physical. Audio. Excellent. Yes. Thank you. Let's see. Yes. Thank you. So there are many different types of learners. Now, as you see here in the diagram, there are a lot of them, more than that you mentioned. For example, also there are the social or the alone learners. Some want to work in the teamwork. Some, for example, prefer to work alone, etc. Also, there are shy students. There are good speaking students, fast work students, good at grammar. Some students are good at grammar, at vocabulary. Maybe some are confident, others are lazy, as you know, and many other types of learners. But the main ones that you mentioned. Now, if we come to the types of assessment, all of us as educators always mention that there is the formative and the summative types of assessment. But what is the difference between formative and summative? Which is better, formative or summative? What do you know about formative and summative? Can you write some simple points about one of them? Either formative you can define, or summative. What comes to your mind? Yes, thank you for your cooperation and for your comments in the chat box. Thank you. Mr. Ferouz, excellent, thank you. He mentions many kinds of learners, excellent. Yes, formative for excellent short term, summative for long term. Thank you. Yes. Yes, Miss Hiba, you write to me secretly or privately. You can write for everyone in order to see. Yes, formative is at the beginning. Yes, formative is limited. Another answer, Omida. Yes, thank you. Let's see for the sake of time. Yes, let's see what is the difference between formative and summative assessment. Here, if you have a look at this table, I put some differences between formative and summative. It is in Arabic, as you know. Formative means takwini, summative means at-tahsili. It means that the formative occurs during instruction, while you give instructions which should be very clear to your students in order to get the full task or the perfect task. You should always give them perfect instructions. So it occurs during instructions, while the summative, it begins or it occurs at the end. Also, the formative is not graded, while the summative is the opposite. A formative is a process and the product is in the summative. Also, the formative assessment is descriptive feedback, while the summative is evaluation feedback. If we come to formative, you are continuous in the formative assessment during at the beginning, during, at the end of the class, in order to check if they understand or not, but the summative is periodic. So those are some of the differences, and if you can surf the net, you can also may find more and more differences. Now, also, there are other types of assessment according to or concerning formative and summative. The first one is assessment for learning, assessment of learning, and assessment as learning. And if we have a look also here, assessment for learning, it happens or it occurs during instruction, but the assessment of learning comes after the instruction. After you give the instruction for your pupils, they will you will assess them for their learning. And assessment as learning, when students become aware of their own learning, and this is very excellent point because it is self-assessment. When students assess themselves, assess themselves, for example, it is very perfect at it is very excellent. Here, if we have a look at time for this diagram, what are the benefits of the assessment for learning? There are many ones. For example, it promotes understanding of goals or criteria. And we, as educators, as teachers, we always want to upgrade our students' understanding and their proficiency in learning. And because there is a lack and shortage of motivation, either the external or intrinsic motivation for learning, it means that it fosters this kind of motivation. Also, it is sensitive and constructive. It is central to a classroom practice, focuses on how students learn, etc. There are many benefits of assessment for learning. But it means here, assessment for learning, it provides you with a clear glimpse of student learning. It means you can take a good picture or a good glance on your student learning and their understanding, if they understand the lesson or not, for example. Assessment of learning, it is also very necessary to help identify if your students meet the grade level standards or not, in order to change, in order to go to another, for example, thing to do with your student. They are usually grade-based, and they can include many things like exams, portfolios, final projects, standard tests, and many others. But assessment as learning, it teaches critical thinking. As you know, there are many skills for 21st century, which we should, as teachers, pay attention to them, and we should enhance and motivate our students with them, like critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, creativity, digital technology, for example, digital citizenship, etc. So you should pay attention to these things in order to involve and to engage your students in the learning process. Also, they can help engage students in the learning process, as we said. But as I said at the beginning, there are many challenges of teaching multi-abilities classes. Many challenges which we face, like the different levels. We should pay attention to the different levels. We should make assessment or many kinds of assessment in order to suit these levels and not to let them anyone behind. And also activities and resources, that you should pay attention to them, because not on in the same activity doesn't suit the same or all the students in your class room, because as I said, some are, for example, excellent students, some are low achievers, some are shy students, others are reluctant, etc. So you should suit them. Also, personal attention. Some are motivated, some are, for example, care more than others. So you should pay attention to these challenges and try to conquer and to overcome them. Also, there are many others like unprepared of teachers to teach a multi-level classroom, especially, for example, new teachers, they are not prepared well. But for us as experienced teacher, for me as, for example, I have been teaching for 26 years, so I become aware of my students because they are different in their levels, multiple intelligences, ages, preferences, etc. Also, another challenge is the insufficient educational material. If I want to vary with the material with my student, there will be scarcity of this material, and I can't sometimes support my students' learning. Also, some teachers have negative attitude to multi-level classes. So this is another obstacle or another suffering, for example. Sorry, multi. Yes, also some activities may cause a noisy atmosphere. As you know, there are some quiet students, some shy ones. When you, for example, make group work, there become sometimes some noise, and this will annoy some students. And also this will be difficult for the teacher to keep students' attention. So this is also another obstacle or another challenge, sorry. Also the poor motivation and many others. I will not come to all of them. So now, because I mentioned the tools of assessment, and we should vary between the tools of assessment, some teachers say, I just use exams in order to assess my student. Do you agree that the exams are the only tools for assessment? What is your opinion? Do you agree with this saying, that exams are the only tools for assessment? Please, if you agree, write number 1. If you don't agree, write number 2. If you don't agree, write number 1. If you agree, write number 2. Yes. Don't agree? Yes. Number 1, agree. Number 2. So they are not. Excellent.
Hello,
So,
Aya.
hello. Hello.
I'm so sorry. We have to move to the next speaker because the time's running.
Yes, just minutes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. So I will come to them quickly for the sake of time. Those are some of the tools of assessment. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I will come quickly on them. Observation. The first tool of assessment is observation, and it is subjective and objective. Another tool of assessment is rubrics, and you as teachers know it. This is some example of a rubric. Here it is important to make a rubric in order to have a feedback, in order to have information, etc. Also, another tool of assessment is curriculum mapping. Quizzes, as I said previously mentioned, it is very necessary to make this because it is very engaging. Also, I use it beside Kahoot, WordWall, Liniot, Pansy, Nearpod, etc. Many other applications like you see here, also Sway, Canva, Scorrative, ClassPoint, etc. Those are very useful for assessing your students. Also, another tool is a questionnaire, and it has a lot of characteristics. Also, the focus group, the portfolios are very vital for assessing our students, and also structured interviews and surveys. Here why they are important. But for the sake of time, I will come to them. Here, there are many recommendations in order to follow them. Like, for example, to keep your class real world relevant, always relate your material, your class with the real world in order to fix it in your students' mind. Also, to give clear instructions, to give rubrics, etc., and many other recommendations. But I will stop till here. Sorry for being or for consuming too much time, but it has or it is very important to deal with this point or this topic, because it is very important for us as teachers and for our students. Thank you for listening to me. Thanks another time for inviting me to this webinar. Thank you all. Thank you.
It's okay, Ms. Shokay. Thank you so much for sharing such great tips and techniques with our audience. And now we will be having Mr. Antonio Cesar Correo, who will be discussing a very interesting topic today, modeling assessment in digital environments. Mr. Cesar is a teacher, trainer, coordinator, and academic consultant with a diploma in TESOL from London University. He's been nominated for the Best Teacher Dedicated Award in 2022 by Cambridge University Press. Thank you, Mr. Cesar, for joining us tonight. You can take it from here.
Okay, thank you, Hashi, okay, and welcome everybody from every part of the world. Okay, good afternoon, okay, from Uruguay, South America, and good evening or good morning. Okay, so welcome to this international event. So I'm going to share with you, but first of all, okay, to good teacher, we have to take the time, classroom management thing, you know. So I'm going to put the chronometer there. Okay, so modeling, and technology, online teaching, so many concepts and notions that have been around us since the pandemic or from a very long time now. But we are going to work together. I mean, I'm not going to expose like a PhD lecture in this kind of thing. So I'm going to share my screen. And the first thing that you're going to notice that I'm not going to use PowerPoint. Why? Because I'm going to show you different kinds of things that you can use with your student, or you can use in your daily life as a teacher. And it's going to make your life easier and more motivating in assessing and playing games for the sake of having fun. Okay, so let me share the screen with you. I'm going to ask you many things, and this is going to be a lot of interactive factors in my presentation. Bear with me a moment. So let me see. Let me tell you. So please, do jot down in the chat box if you're able to see my screen properly, and if you can't hear me properly. Yep. Okay, my first question, and please jot down your ideas, your notions in the chat box. What do you think this is the very origin, of technology? Do you know, where, thus the word technology comes from? Any idea? Don't fish, for the words, in Google, please. Let's see, the charts. If you have any idea, so shoot. So the question is, do you know, or do you happen to know, what is the origin of the word technology, the etymology of the word technology? Me, yes, maybe no. Perush, yeah, you're just hitting the nail. Yes. Okay, so without further ado, so let me show you. Okay. So this is what I tell you. This is called a Genially. So it's apart from PowerPoint, a very nice tool in order to put everything and to envisage everything together, as to present. And you can train your student as well in order to make presentations, okay, in these kind of tools, totally, okay, free. So let's go, okay, to the first thing, okay, the first question that was, okay, what was technology? What was the etymology of technology? So I'm going to read it quite quickly. So the Proto-Indo-European rooted meaning to weave, also, okay, to fabricate, also to make rika or water fabric. Then, okay, we have, okay, different concept of the word, and, okay, as the tech of making or modeling things, yeah, like, and I love this, to join, unite, build, and the suffix logic. Let's see. So speaking this course and blah, 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 I'm not going to read and to pester you with all this. But I love this, love of learning, love of words of this course. Apology, okay, analogy, touch. So from the Greek, okay, logos, word, speech, statement, discourse is directly concerned. So technology is not, okay, like Kahoot. It's not only Canvas. It's not only Socrative. It's not only, okay, that. It's far, okay, from that, okay, has another implications. So apart from this, okay, like sort of saying definition, let's go, okay, to a video, okay, that I want to share with you. This video, and I want you then to jot down as well your ideas and what this video has to do, okay, with assessment in digital environment, because assessment, okay, and evaluation, it has many, okay, different aspects. So let me show you, okay, and share with you this video, okay, and let me see, okay, if you like it afterwards, okay. So let me show you that. So let's see, okay, what I have in the chat. So after, okay, watching the video, would you think, okay, has to do with technology? And if any connection with that? Any ideas? That has to be okay with technology or teaching, okay, using technology, or any other aspect in teaching as per technology that we have to cater for our students? What about social emotional learning, collaborative learning? I'm just, okay, helping you. You are my students today, so there you go, Jasmine. Yeah, Risha. Motivation, okay, in this time, okay, of technology and hardships, okay, they have to endure. There you go. Okay. There you go for us. And another question, do you think it's a good, okay, or a good idea, okay, this video, okay, in order to just to use it in your class as per a thought, okay, or a food for thought? There you go, Satya, yeah, change the mic side, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. There you go. Okay, so after, okay, this video, let's, okay, move on a little bit. So it was, okay, model assessment for virtual, and this what is now, okay, nowadays the VR thing, but of course it depends on the economical and the institutions, okay, and the gadget and everything, okay, that you may have handy. And we are going to see, okay, other aspect. In this case, sorry, this was not the one. Let's go, okay, to the something that I use, for example, as per technology, that is World War. So as I told you before, it was, okay, to share with you what I use, okay, and this is, okay, having used, okay, World War, okay, for fun. So let me put, okay, some example, okay, what I do to enhance, for example, fluency or, okay, conversation process. So I'm going to shuffle. So have you been to Uruguayan Carnival, or has somebody told you about it? So explain. So it could be, okay, individually, group working, so, okay, classroom management, and this is, okay, up to you. Have you bought any pets? So in your opinion, why people have pets? Do you believe that people worry about the planet? Why and what not? So some my colleagues says, okay, global citizenship, okay, so that are so in vogue and trendy nowadays. It's important to eat healthy, name 3 healthy foods. So it's rather, okay, nice tool for exam preparation, okay, for oral exams of these questions, mainly, okay, for lower levels, or you can, okay, just contrast, okay, and build up, okay, your own, okay, depending on the level you're teaching, of course. Have you got any brother or sister? Quite simple, quite basic one. Can you tell us about your daily routine? in 3 sentences, and so on and so forth. So this is one of the tools of the millions. So another question for you: how many applications, how many apps do you use, or do you know how you use in your daily teaching habits? So let's please jot down in the chat which are the ones that you use or that you are well acquainted with and your students love, like the most, and they are as a form of assessment and evaluation as well. So please be free. Socrative, class points, remember, wallets, palettes, there you go. Very good. Couple applications. Great. Book creator, okay. There you go. Offline mode though, okay, lovely. So many, yeah, many. So I have Canvas for wall, Putlers, there you go. So I have another video for you. So I think that you're going to like it. Then you're going to share your opinion in the chat box. I love it, and I think this reflects everything in these minutes. So it's a world of assessment, and it's a Moodle video that I really love and I want to share with you. So because when I was thinking of these of these events, I thought, what about my TTT, my teaching talking time? No, I'm going to just post them to different visual things that I use in my teaching, and to share with you this. So you have your shot. There's a noisy background. If somebody could please stop on mute, would be lovely. Thank you very much. If you can mute.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Are you done with Mr. Caesar?
This is the last one. Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
The world of assessment is changing. So how do we monitor and track progress and achievement in the broad general education? In 2002, the Scottish Executive launched a consultation exercise, the National Debate on Education, to determine what was working well and what needed to change in Scottish education. It asked, how could we educate Scotland's children to ensure that they had the skills needed for life and work in the 21st century? As a result, a curriculum review group was established, which identified key principles to be applied in the redesign of the 3-18 curriculum. A broader range of learning, more engaging and relevant learning experiences, and assessment which was clearly designed to support learning were needed to ensure that Scotland's children and young people were equipped to participate fully in life and work in an increasingly globalised society. Consequently, Curriculum for Excellence provides the foundation on which our education system can develop confident individuals, effective contributors, successful learners and responsible citizens with the skills necessary to continue learning throughout their life. Building the Curriculum 5, a framework for assessment, provides key guidance on assessment within Curriculum for Excellence. It makes clear that if we want these fundamental aspirations to become a reality for all, then the clear connections between the content of the curriculum, learning and teaching methodologies, and assessment need to be recognised and fully integrated into the planning of learning. Without the integration of assessment in the day-to-day life of the classroom, it is difficult to make regular, valid professional judgments of how well our learners are making progress across the range of learning. Similarly, without putting learners themselves at the centre of the assessment process, children and young people will not develop an understanding of where they are in their learning and what they need to do next to progress. So, to enable children and young people to develop the 4 capacities, opportunities to demonstrate what they learn need to be thoroughly thought through at the planning stage. Assessment cannot be a bolt-on, something done to passive learners at the end of a piece of learning. Instead, assessment should provide active learners with a range of opportunities on a day-to-day basis to demonstrate through what they say, write, make and do their development of knowledge, understanding, skills, attributes and capabilities. We want to inspire our learners to contribute confidently and effectively to the story of their own learning. Crucially, this involves learner conversations, dialogue between learners themselves and between them and their teachers or key adult, parents and others involved in their education. Practitioners will also share and develop through conversation with one another their understanding of the progress their learners are making. Conversations run in parallel. What we say and hear in one affects what we say and our understanding of what we hear in another. In these ongoing conversations about learning, we must think of assessment as valid evaluation of learning based on reliable evidence generated in a variety of ways throughout a learning experience. So what does all this look like in practice? Firstly, to ensure learners enjoy their entitlement to a broad general education, practitioners plan rich learning experiences using the experiences and outcomes and taking account of learners' prior learning. Discussion among practitioners and their partners as they plan learning helps them decide on why, what and how they will teach and what evidence they will have that learning has taken place. As a consequence, practitioners become more confident in making valid professional judgments about how a child or young person is progressing. Next, practitioners share with learners what they should know, understand or be able to do by the end of a learning experience. The focus must be on what is to be learned rather than the task leading to the learning. To know that these learning intentions have been achieved, practitioners and learners create success criteria at the outset and refer to these throughout the learning experience. Learners are at the centre of learning as they shape and use learning intentions and success criteria in dialogue with their teacher and each other. Giving learners responsibility for their own learning is central to the assessment process. Through these discussions, learners will understand the purpose of the learning and be motivated by that. Learner conversations also help them to know how they are progressing and what their next steps in learning will be. Rich learning experiences provide a variety of sources and types of valid evidence of the range of learning related directly to the learning intentions and success criteria. For example, evidence might come from observing learners carrying out specific tasks, performing, delivering oral presentations, participating in group discussions, creating artwork, or from other reports, projects, or other products. Oral, written, and audiovisual evidence created by learners and information provided by parents, other learners, or other staff about a learner's achievement are all forms of naturally occurring assessment evidence, taken from day-to-day learning and teaching. Through dialogue, learners recognise their latest and best evidence of learning. They engage more and in more depth with the profiling process and gathering evidence for their profile. Because practitioners have fuller and more valid evidence on how learners are progressing, they can track progress confidently, both within and across Curriculum for Excellence levels. And of course, learning is not confined to the playroom or classroom, but takes place in the 4 contexts of learning. As well as the evidence provided within the 8 curriculum areas, evidence of learning can come through making connections across the curriculum areas in interdisciplinary learning, through opportunities to participate in the ethos and life of the school, and through opportunities for personal achievement, both within and out with the immediate school environment. Regardless of the specific context of any learning, the principles of planning and assessing rich learning experiences are the same. All contexts to track progress. So how do practitioners arrive at a holistic judgment that a learner has achieved a level? Having used the experiences and outcomes to plan learning, practitioners will know when learners have achieved a breadth of learning across almost all the experiences and outcomes in a given curriculum area, and have met the learning demands presented by increasingly challenging experiences. Through planned, rich learning experiences, practitioners will recognise when learners are applying their skills in more unfamiliar situations without support from scaffolding. Drawing on guidance supports practitioners in these processes. Moderation among practitioners at all stages of planning and of learning and teaching involves professional dialogue with colleagues both within and out with their own establishment. Moderation is informed by referencing a range of learner evidence from practitioners' own classrooms. This leads practitioners to be confident when reporting on progress to learners themselves, other practitioners, members of the senior leadership team, and parents. When the reporting process is ongoing, through the regular sharing of evidence with parents, there is no need for a lengthy written report at the end of the session, as all involved will be confident how the learner is progressing in their learning and will know how to support them in the learning journey. To ensure that rich learning experiences are quality assured at all stages of the learning journey, it is vital that at points of transition, practitioners come together to moderate evidence of learning. Through this, they will be confident that they are building on prior learning and, ultimately, in decisions about the most appropriate qualifications learners should progress to and at what levels in the senior phase. As a result of the effective transition through all stages of the learning journey, learners develop a profile of their latest and best achievements. Their progress is monitored and tracked, and, when necessary, appropriate interventions taken to ensure that they are realising their fullest potential. Ultimately, in these ways, the learner will have become a confident individual, effective contributor, successful learner, and responsible citizen, with the skills, attributes, and capabilities needed to equip them for positive, sustained destinations in learning, life, and work.
Okay, so I hope you enjoy that. Okay, I really love that.
Is often born from the questions, interests,
of how to write.
Okay, so sorry, for this. Okay, I just overlooked, to put it off. So,
Hi, Mr. Caesar. I'm so sorry. We have to move on.
Yep. Any questions? Okay, let's see. Okay, the chat before, because my chronometer was telling me clap. Okay, time is up. So thank you very much. Bye. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed. And as I said before, the principal thing, is our TTT, our teaching talking time. So I want to expose you, the way that I expose, my students, with the things and not me talking, as a parrot all the time. So these increase, a lot of motivation intrinsically, and extrinsically speaking. So thank you ever so much, for this session and for paying attention and for your contributions as well. And I was really honored. So any questions that you should happen to have? So if not, so again, thank you a lot, and see you next time. And thank you, Jen, for inviting me for this wonderful
so
event.
Much. Thank you
My
so
pleasure.
much, Mr. Caesar, for such a valuable session. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now, Ms. Hadid Al-Kamli will start her session entitled Developing Lifelong Learners, Assessment and Learners Agency. Let me introduce you, Ms. Hadid. Ms. Hadid is a certified English language instructor with MA in linguistics, a Cambridge certified teacher, trainer, and fellow of the Higher Education Academy. Thank you for joining us today, Ms. Hadid. You may start now. Hi, Ms. Hadid.
Yes, hello
Are you
everyone.
here?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
just
you can share
trying
your
to
screen with us.
yes. So just a minute. Okay. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, is it the same now? Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you and the screen is visible.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. And let me first of all, thank the organizers for the opportunity and for the and professional arrangements. Thank you, Ms. Haya, for the nice introduction. Now, I guess, as you can see on the screen, our topic today is about developing lifelong learners by promoting learners agency assessment. During the next 20 minutes, we will be hopefully covering the following. We will talk about learners agency. What is learners agency? Why do we need to promote learners agency? And we will try to find agency in formative assessment. And most importantly, how to use formative assessment to empower students. Now, when we talk about agency in learning, I would like you to share what comes to your mind in one word when you hear learners agency, students agency, agency in learning. What comes to your mind? In just one word, in the chat box, please. Okay.
Hi, Miss, please can you start the slideshow?
It is, can you can't see the slideshow?
No, we are seeing the presentation from outside. You can start the slideshow and
okay.
move on with the slides.
Okay, let me try to share again. Okay. Okay, I guess you can see.
Yes, we can see the slide now with the title.
Okay, with the title Agency in Learning.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay. Is it the same now, or did it change?
No, agency in learning. It is just here.
Okay, good. So please, in the chat box, could you please, someone said, I think, independent learners or students' autonomy. Excellent, yes. Okay, what else can you think about? Involvement, yes. Engagement. Okay, so let me check if the slides are also. Okay, can you see now the definition?
Yes.
The first one, yes.
Yes,
excellent.
learners with agency.
Excellent, yes. So there are many definitions, but this is the one I preferred to use today. Now, learners with agency can intentionally make things happen by their actions, and these are keywords when it comes to agency. To build this capacity, learners should have the opportunity to make meaningful choices about their learning, and they need to practice doing so effectively. Now, learners who successfully develop this ability lay the foundation for lifelong self-directed learning, which is an ability that the modern education is trying to promote. Now, so if in short, if we are talking about students' agency, that means that we are giving our students voice, we are giving them a choice, and they have ownership over their learning. Now, to have a better understanding about learners' agency, we will use a framework that summarized the learner's agency, drawing on the work of Zimmerman, self-regulated learning. So the first component would be metacognitive practices, and by metacognition, we mean the ability to think about thinking, and the ability to manage your learning, your thinking. You are aware of your cognitive processes. For example, an example of metacognitive practices is goal setting, monitoring of the progress of these goals, reflecting, evaluating. So students can set goals, they can monitor the progress, okay? So they have metacognitive skills. The second component would be motivation and the feeling of self-efficacy and confidence, which drives the whole process. And the final component is and the result would be the behavioral change. And by behavioral change, I mean, for example, seeking out help, finding suitable resources. It could be as simple as finding a quiet place to study. Now, why do we need to promote learners' agency? It increases students' engagement throughout their teaching and learning process. Of course, when someone or when a student is in control or have a choice or have a voice in their learning, they are more engaged. It's a powerful tool for ongoing academic development, of course. It's vital for supporting their future lives and careers as lifelong learners. It is vital for supporting their future, it's also, learners with agency are able to learn from their mistakes, and they are resilient, and they can easily adapt, and they are persistent. Finally, it promotes a growth mindset. Of course, students who believe that they can change, they have the tools to change, are more willing to change and grow. Now, to find agency in formative assessment. Now, formative assessment is the most influential assessment in the instructional process, and it has the greatest impact on students' achievement. However, more recent definition, let me show you, more recent definition, which I found relevant, is developed by the Council of Chief State School Officers in the US. And I will be linking this document in the references, inshallah. They moved the focus from using formative assessment to inform instruction to use it as a tool to support learning. Now, traditionally, the way we understood formative assessment as it is a tool for teachers to adjust and inform their teaching practices. However, in the updated version, the focus now is more on students and the students' learning. Now, as you can see here in the definition, the focus now is moved from focusing on instruction to focus on learning and teaching. So it's not during instruction, as it was in the previous definition, which you can find in the document. Now it's during learning and teaching, which makes us acknowledge the role of teachers as well as learners in this process. So it's not only teachers. The previous goal of formative assessment was to improve students' achievement, but now it is to improve students' understanding of intended disciplinary learning outcomes. So it's not anymore about the achievement. Students are now agents in their classroom, and they are responsible for understanding the outcomes and being able to be successful. In addition to the additional definition is the outcome, the new outcome of formative assessment, which is to support students to become self-directed learners. Now, with this new understanding of formative assessment, this understanding can support us and support our efforts toward students' agency. Now, in the same document, they have listed 5 formative assessment practices that would help you build agency among your students and yourself as an agent for your students. First, teachers should clarify learning goals and success criteria within a broader progression of learning. So within your STEM objectives, you can be more specific. The students' input is also of importance in here for them to identify their specific learning objectives. Eliciting and analyzing evidence of student thinking, and the key word here is thinking, not evidence of student achievement nor performance. They should engage in self-assessment and peer feedback. Teachers should provide actionable, detailed, verbal it's only one-way communication. In their mind, in the students' minds, it only shows that their work was already marked, and it only shows that you saw what they did, but you haven't seen or what you haven't witnessed what they are thinking about. While verbal feedback and conversation is how you get enough evidence of students' thinking. So it's more of a discussion. When you discuss your students' performance, you can get better insight of the way they think. And therefore, of course, you can take action and they can take action. Finally, using evidence and feedback to move learning forward by adjusting learning goals or next instructional steps. Now, in order to use formative assessment practices in a way that supports students' agency, students always need to be aware of these 3 key questions. Every feedback, activity, or experience needs to aim to answer these questions. Now, these questions are the same type of questions that we always need to ask ourselves when we seek development, whether it's personal, academic, or professional. Teachers need to explicitly make students be aware of these questions in order for students to make sense of what they are doing in class. Students need to be able to answer the question, where am I going? So what success looks like? What are the success criteria? What should I do? What should I accomplish to get there? Students also and teachers also should support students to help them evaluate and locate where they are now in terms of knowledge, skills, and weaknesses, strengths. Okay, so in order for them to evaluate their situation now and eventually they be able to fill the gap between where they are now and where they want to be. Okay, so when teachers try to help students get more agency or get more control over their learning, teachers, when it comes to helping them answer the question, where am I going? Teachers should provide a clear and understandable vision of learning targets. So for example, use even simple language to explain the target, the learning targets, and probably showing them a sample of what success looks like. They can also use examples of strong and weak work. So for example, teachers could give students, for example, in a writing class, teachers can give students sample papers of poor quality and another one of high quality. Now, students can analyze and evaluate the features of the papers, and they can decide on which features features make a good paper, and then they can collaborate and create a rubric that they can use to evaluate their own work as well as their colleagues or peers' work. To support students evaluate themselves in terms where they are now, teachers should or can offer regular descriptive and, as we have said before, verbal feedback. So phrases like good job, excellent, this needs more work is not going to do more for their learning journey. So they need descriptive, detailed feedback in order for them to learn. Teachers also should teach students to self-assess and set goals. And when I say self-assess, not only in terms of achievement, but where they are in relation to their learning objectives. To support students to close the gap between where they are now and where they want to be, teachers should focus on one learning target at a time. Teach students focused revision. So for example, they can use a summative assessment paper that is already have been graded, and they have already some feedback on this paper, for example, and they can compare it against their learning outcomes and identify where they need more work. Teachers should encourage collaboration. So once the students identify their weaknesses, for example, or areas that they need support with, they can seek help from their colleagues. And by seeking help and by giving help to their colleagues, they are also learning. Also, to engage students in self-reflection, asking students questions like, what made you learn this? When did it click? What makes this one difficult for you? And also encourage students to keep track of their learning and sharing their learning with their colleagues. Now, although this might look appealing and probably straightforward, the shift towards more agency is as difficult for students as it is on the teacher to decide everything for them. They might lack the knowledge and the confidence to handle their own learning. Now, here we will share some ideas on how to support students through the 3 stages as they increase their agency by learning to use formative assessment themselves. So students at the beginning are more motivated to complete their work to get good grades. Towards agency, teachers should first, in this stage, model how to use elements of the formative assessment process, including creating learning goals and success criteria, as we have discussed before, noticing learning while it's occurring, making sense of it, and providing feedback, and be helpful in this process. Number two, teachers should try to scaffold the peer feedback process with sentences, stems, and checklists. This helps students target their so that they are aligned with the intended learning outcomes, and they can say it, and they are supported with the language that enables them to say it in a kind manner to their colleagues. And teachers themselves need to be transparent about their own learning journey. You know, people learn by example. And with formative assessment, teachers share what they are trying out and moments when they make mistakes in lessons. This is intended to model a classroom culture where it is okay not to know everything, and it validates everyone as a learner. During their development, can support students. They probably have now more courage so teachers could focus modeling activities on self-assessment and peer feedback, what students may be thinking during these activities. Teachers can also guide the class in developing a growth mindset. Of course, we talked about this earlier, to help students feel more comfortable being public about their learning journey and know that it's okay to have space for improvement. Teachers should also review whole class data with students from the day's lesson. A nice idea for this one is to create exit tickets using Google Forms to produce pie charts, and this could students at the advanced level, and hopefully we get there with our students. In this stage, students are more willing to take risks and initiative in their learning. Teachers can support this by allowing students to frequently construct learning experiences on their own. This might be a bit challenging and messy, but it could be done occasionally, and it can be a great learning experience for the students. Teachers also can provide or should provide support for students to interpret and apply evidence of their own learning. And this is enabled by students' increase in metacognition as they have reached this far. Now, this is also supported by the teachers' transparency about their own self-assessment experiences. So if it's an open culture, so everyone admits their mistakes and that everyone is learning, students are more willing to express their challenges and to work based on these. Finally, to teachers should provide feedback to students on the feedback they give to others. For example, you can advise students to move from solving problems for others to asking clarifying questions. This improves the capacity of each student to guide their own learning. Now, this, before I conclude my presentation, I would like to leave you with this. When students are agents in their learning, they are more likely to have learned how to learn, which is an invaluable skill they can use throughout their lives. And I know this is probably a concern of most teachers, but promoting students' agency does not mean that students have control over the class, but rather have control over their own learning. Thank you, everyone. These are my references. I will be posting this in the chat box. Thank you very much for listening. These are my contact info. I would love to hear from you all. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hadil. Thank you for this valuable session. And now, thank you so much. And now, Ms. Khulud will be joining us to share her experience in the importance of data-driven decisions in assessments. Ms. Khulud holds MA in Curriculum Design and Teaching Techniques with 17 years of experience in teaching and a freelance curriculum consultant at Lego Education. Thanks for being with us today, Ms. Khulud. You can take it from here.
Thank you, Ms. Adil, and hello, everyone. I'm so happy to see you today. I didn't expect this number, Ms. Adil, to be honest, and I would like to welcome all of you. I also would like to thank my colleagues who started their presentation earlier. It was really informative, and it's guiding us, or it's leading us to talk about how to make data-driven decisions in education with an ease. Okay, so my name is Khulud Al-Zaiter. I hold a master's degree in chemistry and a master's degree in curriculum and teaching techniques. I've been a teacher for 17 years now, and I would like to share some of my experience today. So let's start by talking about the meaning of data-driven decision making. Usually you will find it as D3M or DDDM, triple DM. So what do we mean by this? According to the literature, it is a systematic collection, analysis, and application of many forms of data from myriad sources in order to enhance student performance while addressing student learning. This is Marsh, Payne, and Hamilton's definition of data-driven decision. If you can mute your microphone, I would really appreciate it. If you can, excuse me, if you can mute your microphones, please, I would really appreciate that. So this definition of data-driven decision making was established in 2006. Later on in 2013, Doon and his colleagues added to this definition to how to say or to implement that. D3 have or requires identifying student strength and weakness regarding the learning objectives, and taking this into the consideration while we're taking control of the decisions or future decisions. To move on. So to sum up the meaning from or taking from those the two definitions, it is a systematic collection of data. So data should be collected, should be gathered. I can't take, I can't have like an exam or a quiz or end of chapter test, for example, or a Kahoot quiz, and I just give it to students. I have to gather this information, sort it out, and keep it somewhere for further analysis. After that, I need to look into it. I need to look into this data. I need to use it to compare between the performance, let's say, between girls and boys, between different grade levels, between different demographic information, and so on. After that, we'll apply many forms of data from different resources, meaning that I cannot give a student or a school or a teacher an evaluation based on one type of data. And we will talk about the types of data that we can use later. All this is, we have to keep in mind that this is aiming to enhance our student, our school, our teachers' performance. During this, I need to address what the student needs to move on in his career pathway. I have to identify where my students, where my teachers, where my school, where my policies, for example, have a strength area, and where I can find a weakness area or a development area. After that, I will design the future in the school or in the institute that I'm working on. So we have too many frameworks, by the way, for D3M or DDDM. I chose one of them, which is the Light, Wexler, and Hines 2005 framework for analysis. As you can see on my screen, first we have to start by collecting data, organizing it, meaning that I need to categorize the data that I have. I need to say this is, for example, a midterm exam. This is a survey. This is attendance rate, for example. I need to organize it in a way that can be comprehensible to whom I'm sharing with my data. And then I need to summarize it. I need to summarize the outcomes of this data. After I summarize it, I need to do further analysis. I need to compare and contrast. I need to find the average. I need to find the median, let's say, the highest point, the lowest point. All these mathematical terms need to be used in this stage. Based on my analysis, based on everything that I've done so far, then I need to synthesize the data into information that people can use it in daily life. Students can use it, parents can use it. After I share my information with them, then the decision making happens. So I cannot just take decisions based on my feelings, my beliefs, my intuition. But if I follow this framework, then I would have an informed decision that will fit the future needs. So in order to start with the process, before I do anything, I need to define my vision. I need to know where am I going in the future. As a person, as an educator in an institute, you should have a solid grasp on your strategy. You have to agree on a strategy, ensure that they are clearly defined. Your strategy is known for everyone, is shared with everyone, with all stakeholders in that institute. And then by identifying the strategy, you will be able to narrow the scope of work and focus on specific tasks that can be accomplished. And this should be smart tasks or smart goals that you can accomplish and you can measure your progress when you do it. Here I have an example for you. I want to identify which programs at the district or the school or the institute are most effective in helping close achievement gaps. Or I want to improve our math scores on the state test by 5% for next year. I need my students to have a progress of 5% or 3% or 10%. So by these examples, I'm showing you what do I mean by define your vision. It should be measurable. It should be accessible. It should be clear, and it should be easy for you to accomplish in the future. Let's start by, after establishing my vision, let's start by gathering the data. We need to know what needs to be done at the district level to meet your stated vision. You need to look for what type of information that you are going to gather. You need to address your needs, address your problems, address the weakness area, the strength area. And then you need to narrow down the information that you need to tackle the issue at hand, which you previously specified in your vision. If you do this, then the data itself can be more helpful. I cannot go and say, I just want to send surveys for everyone. You need to know what is the need of that survey, or the collected data are going to support you to do what. So before I start sending things to people or putting students into too many exams and tests and end of chapter tests, I need to know which type of data that I need to solve a specific problem. After you collect your data, you'll find bias. Bias means that you will have, let's say, grades or numbers that does not fit. That maybe you had a visualization in your head, and then you will find anomalies in your data. You need to identify the bias in your data and eliminate it. The reason I'm addressing this and I'm stressing on this because sometimes bias have affected my decisions a lot. I was not aware of the bias that I have, and I took my decisions including that bias. And later on, I discovered that the decision that I took at that time could have been better. It wasn't bad, but it could have been better. So making data available and easy to interpret will help you to eliminate bias. You need to empower stakeholders to access your data and make data-informed decisions based on this. While you're doing this, you need to discover new opportunities and ways to think about the data and see the data, the actual meaning of what a test result will tell you, or what does not tell you, by the way. Then you need to provide eliminating the bias provides you with insight into what might already feel is true, but cannot be proven when you eliminate that bias. Then by eliminating bias, you can discover things you did not even know that exist. And by giving a deeper look into bias, lots of things can be changed in terms of decision making. So after that, you need to use data to find out what happened in the past. And when we talk about this, let's say that I have students who just joined your school, and you need to know what level of let's say science do they have, what type of knowledge do they have, what type of knowledge they don't have, and you need to support them with. This data will help teachers set up accommodations also for students like ASEAN students, like students who are a little bit behind. Teachers also may move students at the below basic level to the front of the classroom so they have easy access to extra support, or they may provide advanced students with alternative, just like my colleague Al-Kamli was discussing about different levels of students. So I can use the data in too many forms. I can establish my baseline based on the data, and I can move forward. So past data indicates what skills students have learned, okay? And in what areas breakdowns occurred. The past information, the past data coming from, let's say, last year's data or another school's data or a past exam result, this information serves as an important roadmap for teachers. And they can take this information and they can take, or it can be a privilege for them when they start planning the skills that they should tackle during the year. So I need to look into past data that maybe someone else have gathered them and made it accessible for me to read it. I noted that all my colleagues emphasized this, and I'm not going to go deeper into it because we discussed it a lot today. We need to use a mix of quantitative and qualitative data. can have end-of-year data, I can have CAT4, GL, MAP data, IELTS, SAT, formative assessments, observation surveys, attendance rates, feedback from students, exit tickets. I need to make sure that I have a variety of data source. After that, I need to read between the lines about what the data tells you and what the data does not tell you about. So we need to assess what the data can be used for. Now, certain data can help you answer one question, but not all questions. This is why we need to use a set of data. For example, a teacher may examine data that reveals a particular group of students where they come from a disadvantaged background, let's say. This might help them to explain why those students at this level, why are they struggling? And this might tell, for example, if a group of students are having low grades in math, this might tell you that maybe they had a math teacher last year which did not, or had a maternity leave, for example. So sometimes by looking deeper into the data, it can tell you things that did not came to your knowledge before, and then you can act. By that, you can, if you can diagnose the problem correctly and accurately, then you can supply the needed interventions. So to develop solutions, I need to do data analysis. In order to do that, we need to generate dashboards and other reports, which can take time, but it will be very beneficial for you if you can create dashboards. And by dashboards, I don't mean, or it doesn't mean necessarily that it has to be something complicated or expensive. You can use Excel sheets, and then you can simplify them by transferring them to a presentation, PPT, or something like this, generate a very simple report, and then share it on a bulletin board in the school, or put it on the screen, or print it and hand it out. But you need to create your dashboards that will inform all stakeholders about this data. This is a tedious journey, let's say, so you need to embrace the journey and you need to enjoy the challenge that you are having, because I'm telling you guys, it's not easy. Make a difference for your staff, students, parents, the entire community, teachers, by showing them, by informing them what's going on. And data analysis need to have a specific time. You need to spend your time on data analysis. What would really help you is to develop a culture of learning and support within the institute that you're working on, and they can help you and support you to do this, because it is a tedious work, but it is worth it. After that, we need to discuss the learning strategies that will help you enhance your data. And then we can derive the learning process based on the outcomes of the data that we have. Now, during the way, while you're analyzing the data that you gathered, it would be easier for you to discover how to use this data to enhance the performance of your students, of your staff, of the entire community that you have, if you're gathering data about the community. We need to know what makes my students successful, what makes them fail. Maybe I'm using like a textbook that does not match their needs. Maybe it's way above their level or way less than their level. Maybe I have a teacher who cannot communicate with my students. Maybe I can do something about it. Maybe the teacher needs to change his or her strategy in teaching. Maybe the students have something in the school environment that bothers him or her. Based on that, we can devise solutions to address the reasons of failure. And then we can design activities that can support our students and improve their performance along the way. Based on that, also, I can devise new lesson plans. I can put my skills into considerations. what my students need, then I can address them on daily basis. I can address how many students are proficient, basic, or below basic, just like my colleague Al-Kamli was explaining, what their specific activities that they enjoy, where I can enhance it even better. And then I can plan my lessons that will integrate themselves into the curriculum that I'm covering. Then I need to establish growth targets and track problems. You need to think about the impact that you're having. Just keep in mind that empowering students in their learning, make them accountable, hold them accountable and responsible for their learning will help you a lot. Designing dashboards also to demonstrate growth will give people motivation. Everyone will be motivated once they see where are they and where are they heading and what is needed to be done. Setting goals also is very important, and this will give people a sense of direction, or where to go and what to do and how to follow instructions later on. I'm sharing one of the examples here. I'll give you 2 minutes, and I just want you to see how this case or a situation that happened between two teachers, how they use the data to enhance their instructions. I'm going to share this PowerPoint with you, and I'll leave this to you just to give you an example and how magic can happen in a simple way. We're not talking about very huge decisions. We're not talking about changing the world. We're talking about infinitesimal change on daily basis that can help your students grow even better. Thank you, that's all. I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. If you have any questions, I'll have 2 minutes if you don't mind. Any questions? Hadil, do we have questions? Ms. Hadil?
Hi.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
How to use how to add or to increase more students' motivation. One of my secrets is that I always give my students the freedom to choose. For example, I start with a bill work at the beginning of the lesson. I would give my students a bill work. Even my teachers, when I do something in my department or in my school, I will always provide people with a sense of choice. Choose your activity, choose your task. I have 3 options or 2 options. You choose from them. This is one of the motivations. You might underestimate this way, but it works with me a lot, especially with students who are highly unmotivated. Another one is to address the students' needs, even in a human need. Let's say some people understand by talking, some people understand by watching a video, for example. And sometimes you will find resistance, because lack of motivation is resistance to instructions, by the way. So sometimes you need to differentiate your instructions, you need to differentiate your tasks, so everyone can find something to do. In this way, they won't, hopefully, and they won't resist you, and they will be motivated for you. What's even more important is to have good relationship with your students, with your learners. Then they can follow you to out of a cliff, let's say. So good relationships, good, let's say, establishing positive relationships also will be helpful. I hope that I answered this question.
Thank you so much, Ms. Khulud, for such an informative session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
thank you so much.
thank you. And now, with our final guest speaker for today, Ms. Tasneem Fahmy, who will discussing designing assessments to inform about teaching and learning. Ms. Tasneem is an authorized IB home room teacher for grade 5 with 10 years of teaching experience. She is passionate about drama classes and learning through inquiring, exploring, and wondering. Thank you for being with us here tonight, Ms. Tasneem. You can start your presentation.
Hello, everyone. How are you? I hope you're all doing great. I'm really honored to be with all of you and for having such lovely experience. Thanks to all the teachers who actually presented before me. They were it was really informative presentations. So let me start by introducing myself, but let me ask you first if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, this is actually what I'm going to be sharing with you today. The first thing is the purpose of the assessment. The second thing we're going to find out today about the designing assessment to inform learning and teaching. And we will also be inquiring into what to assess and finally giving and receiving feedback. First of all, I would like to ask the attendees today, the purpose of the assessment. Do you have any idea of the purpose of the assessment? Why do you have assessment in your classes? With all its kinds, I think that most of the teachers today, they have actually shared with us all the kinds and types of assessments. Why do you have assessments in your classes? What is the purpose of the assessment? Okay, Mrs. Ma Hassan, to improve the teaching and learning process. Very well. Ms. Dalia Bok, to improve students. Very nice. For supporting, for maximize engagement. Very nice. To evaluate our learning and teaching and curriculum. True. Very well. Okay, any other ideas? Development of learning and teaching. Very nice. To increase motivation, agency, promoting learner variability. Amazing answers, guys. Very well. Concept checking. That's true. All your answers are perfect. So the first thing, as everyone said, is to inform about learning and teaching. If you're one of the teachers who just give the assessment to the learners and ask them that you have to answer this in a specific time or to find out about the grades of the learners, I don't want you to worry, guys, because we all have been there. But actually, the assessment itself is way more important than that. We have lots of things to do with the assessment. We can develop their skills through the assessment. The assessment itself is a learning process. How is that? First of all, it identifies what students know, understand, and can do in different stages in the learning process. This helps them reflect on their progress, set goals for the learning, and engage them in making decisions about what they need to do to achieve these goals. So it's not only about that I need to know my grade if I will get like 10 out of 10 or 7 out of 10, or I'm going to fail my exam. No, it's more important than that. I need to know where I'm standing and where shall I go, what exactly I need to do. So it's also important for the teachers to become more effective when they continue to learn about what students know and can do. I think also the teachers who presented before me, they mentioned this in details. the teachers become more effective, that she can she can replan, she can make she can think of other ways to help the learners. It's not only about the assessment. No, it is to inform about her teaching, to see where exactly is she standing. Am I doing right? Am I need to change? Do I need to change anything that I'm doing with my learners? And they also reflect on their practice. This is for the teachers. They reflect on their practice, adjust their teaching based on the data, and offer timely, specific, and well-considered feedback to better support. Now, we're going to see how can we design the assessment to inform learning and teaching. Before we get into this part, I need you to think with me. Who is involved in the assessment? Who do you think must be involved in the assessment? Is it only the teachers? Are they teachers and students? Who do you think must be involved in the assessments? And when I'm speaking about involved in the assessments, I'm talking about from designing the assessments, from the beginning of designing the assessment, from beginning of thinking of assessment as it's still an idea. Okay, all teaching staff and students, very well. The parents, teachers, students, coordinators, counselors, the whole learning. Okay, whole process, support team, very well. Very well. So if we're going to have a look at designing and the assessment, if we're going to consider the assessment as a key element within education, then we have to reconsider the role our students play within that element. Do you have any idea how can the learners be part of the assessment? How can the students be, how can we involve the learners in the assessment itself? How can we do that? Let's start with the students. So Ms. Maha is saying by choosing in what way they want to be assessed. Very well. Ms. Dana and Nasir is saying through peer assessment. That's cool. Any other ideas? Giving them options. Very well. I can see that you guys are really are very knowledgeable about this, respect their diversity. That's amazing. Yes, we can do this actually through many ways. We can do this through, as you said, we can do this through the peer assessment. We can give them options. We can give them choices. We can ask them about the timing. Where do they, about the place, where do you want to be assessed? When do you want to be assessed? What exactly you need to be assessed? And we should actually accept everything from them, and we have to put it in consideration. Speaking about designing assessment to inform learning and teaching, this is called the backward design. Does anyone know about the backward design? If we're going to design an assessment to inform learning and teaching, we're going to use the backward design. It is very important to look at the assessments. Yes, exactly, Mr. Furs. From the outcomes. Yes, we start with the outcomes, identifying the desired results. What do we expect students to know or be able to do at the end of the class or the unit? That's the first thing that we must know. The second thing that we have to determine acceptable evidence. How will the students demonstrate that they met their learning goals? How exactly I'm going to do that? Till we reach the stage, which is plan for the learning experiences and instruction. How will the students gain the knowledge and preparing for all the activities that is going to develop their skills, all the activities and skills necessary to meet the learning outcome. And then comes the forward by design. So first we're going to make the backward design, and then the forward design comes at last, when it takes into consideration what other learning may have occurred beyond what has been planned. And this actually is going to encourage student participation in assessment design, inviting them to evidence what else they know or can do. And when I'm speaking about that, guys, I'm not talking about a specific age. I'm talking about all the learners for all ages. Don't tell me that, for example, the early years are not going to be able to be included in the assessment. No, the early years, even if they're still young, but they also can be involved through the role playing, accept from them anything that proves that they have learned and that they have developed. Now let's move on to the next part. What exactly we do assess? Yes, Ms. Maha, early year students are an amazing candidates. Yes, exactly. Now let's move on to the part, what exactly we need to assess. When you're thinking about an assessment, what exactly do you want to assess? When we're having an assessment, I have to think clearly as a teacher. I need to ask myself these questions. Is it the process or product of learning we aim to evaluate? If you're going to assess the process, then no matter how the product or how the outcome is going to look like, you're going to assess the process. How are they dealing with each other, their skills, how they managed, exactly, Ms. Noor, their skills, how they managed to reach their outcome, no matter how the outcome is going to look like. But the idea is that here, if I'm going to assess the process, then I won't, the outcome won't matter that much. Is it to understand prior knowledge? For example, at the beginning of the unit, I'm going to assess their prior knowledge through, and this also can be through many ways. Am I doing it through a KWL chart? Am I doing it through an assessment just to know their prior knowledge? The diagnostic assessment is to assess their prior knowledge is way too important, because this is actually going to save too much time for the teachers, because it's going to acknowledge you with what exactly you need to plan for your unit, for your lesson. It's going to save time, because maybe the learners already would know things that you were supposed to teach them. So it's always better. It's always better to start with assessing the students' prior knowledge and what the students already knows and can do. And also you need to ask yourself, is it to check if learning is on track or if the student is ready for extension? This is actually to help you with your own, like, for example, when you're going to assessing yourself as a teacher, am I going on the right track? Are my students ready to move on to the second level? Is it to elicit depth and breadth in understanding? Is it to extend student learning? Is it to understand how the student make connection and applies learning? Why I'm doing this? Why I'm having this assessment? And finally, giving and receiving feedback. Can you give me an example of the feedback and the feed forward? As I can see that most of you actually have a clear information or a clear background about the feedback and feed forwards. How can I do this inside my class? Actually, the feedback has been identified as one of the most effective teaching practices. Okay, my question is, how do you give and receive feedback inside the classes? How do you support the learners with the feedback? How do you do it? How do you do the feedback inside the classes? Do you only depend on the teacher's feedback, or how exactly you do it inside your class? Can you give us any idea? Can you give us any examples of how do you support and promote the feedback to the learners inside your class? Okay, so we have the peer-to-peer. Okay. Omida is saying by stickers. Very well. Okay.
Worksheets.
By worksheets. Okay, how do you give and receive feedback through worksheets? How do you do that?
I can propose a question for them and see the opinion, how they should do the practice, or how to apply what they learn, so I can understand what they learn from this class.
Okay, that's very nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
I can use, sorry, I can use what they call the mini teacher.
The mini teacher, and how do you do
Yes.
that? Like, for
Yeah,
example,
maybe this is for the
in the flipped classroom.
Sorry.
The mini teacher, like, for example, assigning one of your students to be the
Yes.
teacher. Is that what you
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, this is what we call the flipped classroom, or the reverse classroom, that we
Yes.
assign our learners with tasks and offering them ownership, that they are responsible for their own learning. They're going to prepare everything at home, and they're going to take the ownership and take the lead of their learning. It's really very effective. But my question is, giving and receiving feedback according to what exactly they did after they finalize, for example, an activity or an outcome or a performance. How do you give them the feedback? Okay. Feedback questions about the lesson, which was done by using different methods. Okay. All right. So the feedback, guys, I will give you an example of what exactly I do inside my class. We have a chart, and we're actually divide it into 3 sections. We have the teacher feedback, we have the student feedback, and we have the self-reflection. The self-reflection, where the learner himself reflect on himself. How am I doing? How do I see myself? And this is actually very important because it helps the learner to set goals for themselves and make them better decision makers when they grow up. And the teacher feedback is way too important, of course, because it highlights all the things that the learner must work on. And finally, the peer feedback. Let me tell you something, that the peer feedback is one of the most important feedback among this. It's actually way too important than the teacher and the self. Why is that? Because it's given in language that students naturally use, okay? And the students are more ready to accept feedback from one another. And also it gives teachers information about how a student's understanding of a learning experience is similar or different from their peers. When they actually see themselves and see their peers, and how do they see themselves, see each other, it actually encourages all of them to be better students. And here is the last thing that we'll be doing today. I need you in the chat box, guys, to share a successful assessment that you designed before to your learners. What successful assessment that you designed before to your learners? I need you to share in the chat box so we can get ideas for all of us to benefit from your successful way, from your successful experiences. Anyone had a successful assessment that you designed before to your learners that you would like to share? Okay, as we're running out of time, okay. Personalized computer feedback, very nice. Yes, I do this a lot in my class. By praising and giving them certificates, that's very nice. And the group feedback, that's really very nice. I made a flashcard games and made a giving quiz online with prize at the end. That's really nice. And the rubric feedback, awesome. And the chart feedback, yes, the chart feedback is really very nice method. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for all the attendees. Thank you so much for all the presenters that presented before me. Okay. I would gladly share this presentation with Ms. Haya. Okay, you can refer back to it at any time you need. Thank you so much, guys. And see you in
Thank you so much, Ms. Tasneem, for such an insightful session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We would like to thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope you found today's sessions of benefit to you. We will be waiting for you to join us tomorrow with another amazing group of educators to share their knowledge about the latest trends in assessment with you. You can join us tomorrow using the same link for today. Kindly note that the certificate of attendance for this event will be sent within 2 to 3 weeks from today. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn to know about our upcoming events and offers. And also, don't forget to subscribe in our YouTube channel so you can see this webinar and all the previous ones. Thanks again and have a lovely evening. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Ms. Haya.
Thank you.